or something like
Tony
that.
Caridi, voice of West Virginia, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Tony, thanks for your time. We have some West Virginia fans who watch our YouTube channel. They're fired up on our chat room right now. How about the news of JT Daniels giving West Virginia a nice little spark?
Super news. 109 days since Christmas, and West Virginia got a late present. This is exactly what people had been hoping for, and certainly good. You know, West Virginia right now is in the midst of spring ball, almost done, a week to go, and has three freshmen, or have three quarterbacks, none of which have starting experience, a really young group back there. And so to get someone with Daniel's credentials and the ability that he has shown is a huge boost.
How big was was this pretty much Graham Harrell sealing this deal for them?
I think so. I don't necessarily know if he's here, if Graham Harrell's not here. JT's dad has said specifically that the fact that Graham was here and that relationship when the two crossed paths at USC back in 2019 had a lot to do with it. The offensive continuity he will understand and will be able to at least get in there day number one and have a familiarity with this offense. So I think, to answer your question, it probably was a huge piece to it.
Tony, there's no secret that the West Virginia offense has been a bit lethargic now for a while, and so when they hired Harrell, it kind of seemed out of nowhere, really, but it seemed like a bit of a splash, especially those in the Big 12 region. What has the relationship been like so far? What has been noticeable, if anything, just in terms of the offense's confidence, the style, and how they're doing it?
Still really super early, guys, as you know. So he got here, December-ish. And so they've just been on the field here for 3 weeks. I think what he inherited, we've been building an offensive line really since Neil's been here. When Neil got here, it was as depleted as I've ever seen it. And so that has been a 3-year build, and now finally we've got all of the pieces back on the offensive line, and they've got the chance to be solid. The same deal with the receivers. When Neil first got here, we were forced to use guys that just weren't ready yet. Now those guys, for the most part, are back and intact. So the answer to your question is, I think Graham inherits pieces, and the big question was, who's going to throw it to them? And so today's news at least puts a different spin on that, at least you got a guy that's going to go in there and compete for this job now that's played a good amount of football. And really, guys, it's so badly needed because West Virginia plays an extremely difficult schedule. I think we may be one of only two Big 12 teams that plays two Power Fives. We open the season at Pitt. They pretty much return intact with the exception of the quarterback spot, but they've got a USC transfer. Their whole O-line's back. They got a Bolitnikoff winner at receiver, and we also go on the road to Virginia Tech. So the month of September is going to be a super challenge, and so to get someone, if in fact JT becomes the starting quarterback, you really needed that to go out on the road and to play high level of competition right off the start.
How big of a boost was this for Neil Brown personally, given that the transfer portal has not been his best friend the last couple of seasons, and they've lost a lot of volume, and not to mention talent, into the transfer portal the last couple of seasons, and he kind of needed a win here.
I agree. I think the ultimate answer is going to be at the end of the season. We'll tell you how big this one was, but no, you're right. I mean, for various reasons, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'd probably say 75 to 80% of those kids that have been in the portal certainly haven't transferred up. They've gone down. So if it's anything, it's been some misses. And guys realize, and you guys see it too, you guys realize they're not going to be able to play at that level. So I think perception and reality are a little bit different, but there's been some key losses. We had Akeem Mesidor, an all-conference kid who I think is going to be in the NFL or starting nose guard, leave within the last 2 weeks. And so there have been some pretty surprising departures. And I think I heard you guys before I came on talking about NIL and things like that. And I think that, as you guys know, this is as wild as it's ever been because there are no rules. And so I think we got tampered with and picked away a couple of times. And so that's the world you're living in now. And I think that West Virginia, with today's news at least, will get a little bit more of a positive step.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Tony. You got picked they got picked away with the NIL, and you got the transfer portal, which on top of that, and it's people. Some people love it, some people think it's a mess, and then you wonder if it's ever going to be corralled in any way.
And I don't think you have to be all the way in or all the way against. I think you can find some middle ground, Tony, right? And hey, it's great they have opportunities, but that doesn't mean it should be open gates for people to just come in and try to pull them off your football team.
No, and you guys know football, so you know it always has been done in some form and fashion. However, I do think that we'll quickly see here in the next month or so, new rules will come out where I think they're going to set up 2 specific windows of time where players can enter their names into the portal to try to get some balance to this thing. And I also think that schools will be allowed to recruit as many as they need to get their number to 85. Because, if you're a program out there and all of a sudden you lose 10 or 12 kids out of the portal, you would be forever climbing back up. You guys, not all that long ago, right? You went down scholarships when the whole deal happened there. We've been in a situation as well where you're so far under scholarships that you can't make it up even if they do give you 25. And so I do think there needs to be a rule that you can get as many as you need up to that number of 85 to try to put some balance into this thing. And I also think this, guys, that, I think we're at the peak of the transfer portal. I don't think in 5 or 6 years as many kids leave, because at some point the message will come down. The grass isn't always greener, and we're seeing kids stuck, and we're seeing kids not find places to go. I saw a great line last week. I don't know who it's attributed to, but they said, the grass is always greener, especially for the other person that's spreading the fertilizer on the other side. And, in other words, yeah, it looks greener because they're putting a lot of that fertilizer on the other side. And at some point, people are going to realize, hey, guess what, man? That ain't green grass. That's just a bunch of crap over on the other side. And so you got to step back, and I hopefully that will lead to at least some more thought and some more understanding of, hey, you know what, you probably are in a pretty good shape. These deals, and I don't want to run over your time, but these deals continue to get better for the student athletes. WVU announced this week, and you guys probably have or will. As long as you're in good academic standing, you'll receive a check for $5,980 each year. So, that's $24,000 over the course of 4 years. So you get a free scholarship. You get $24,000 just for being academically eligible. Okay, pretty doggone good deal. And I think that hopefully this will add some stability and stop this craziness of just running all over the place, sometimes trying to get to an oasis that doesn't exist.
I would also think, Tony, that in the next 5 years, there'll probably be a NIL market correction, at least slightly, to where you're paying for achievement and not potential.
Yeah, I think so too. And, again, and we get the same thing on our talk show every night. I'm sure we all talk about the same stuff. But I think there's also a misperception that every student athlete is receiving or should receive NIL. And I don't think that's the case at all. I talked with the person, in the administration side of things, and the number is about 15% right now. So it's not this massive number of people. I think about, if these kids get 80% that aren't going to be NIL recipients and perhaps don't warrant NIL money, but you're still going to get $6,000 just for doing your deal and being academically eligible. That's really good. Like, take it and move on. So we'll see.
Tony, Anthony Beck was named as one of the coaches in the XFL. We mentioned that. That's a West Virginia guy, right?
Oh, absolutely, buddy. He's a Philly guy, but married a West Virginia girl. In fact, I had the honor of announcing his engagement at midfield when he proposed to his wife many, many, many years ago. He brought her out to the middle of Mountaineer Field, took a knee on the flying WV, and told her he had to be there for some pictures and things or autographs for some kids, and proposed to her. So he's a fantastic guy. He's been wonderful, great blue-collar story coming into this program. He was a receiver that weighed about 170, 175 out of high school, became a tight end and left here like 260, and is wonderful, and he'll do a great job. His son, in fact, guys, I don't know if you know this, his son is a true freshman quarterback at Iowa State.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. Playing for Matt Campbell. Okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
Tony, I know there's some excitement already over with the backyard brawl getting back together, but an extension to that as well now, right? 8 of the next 11 seasons, I think they'll be playing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep, they announced that today. They added 4 more years onto the contract. And, guys, geographically, I don't know if people are totally familiar, might be surprised if you've not been up in this area, but it's 75 miles from Pittsburgh to Morgantown. And so it truly is the backyard brawl, and it's the oldest rival that WVU has had. And because of the conference reorganization, the series fell off. And so, yeah, I think it's good. I think our fans love it. I don't necessarily, personally, I don't like at all playing both Tech and Pitt in the same season. I have no problem with doing one or the other. I think that's good. For our Southern fans, they love the Tech rivalry is huge for them. For the Northern fans and for everybody else, the Pitt rivalry is big. But I'm really happy that it will continue, and it's good overall.
So, Tony, in closing, we started talking about JT Daniels at the beginning. How much does this – I know the schedule's tough, but how much does this change, not the fortunes necessarily, but just the overall feeling heading into next season for West Virginia and its fans?
I think it's huge, guys. I mean, it's huge. We've lost our mojo. We've lost our mojo, and this staff is fantastic. And they have just, for whatever reason, you go back to COVID and you just go back to a break here or there. They have not had a lot of good luck at all. And so super happy for those guys, because I think that they will be successful here. And to add JT into that mix, I think is exactly what they needed. And time will tell, but it's huge. People are bouncy that this has happened.
Hey, Tony, thank you. I know you have a busy schedule in the afternoon with what you're doing. Appreciate your time, and great news today for West Virginia. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure, guys. Nice to be with you. Take care.
You too. That's Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics, on JT Daniels and the transfer from Georgia to West Virginia. When we come back,